Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be more consistent on my channel. So getting into it today, we're going to be doing a backfill. It is essentially what I consider a backfill. I am going to be taking down her existing acrylic design and making it super thin so that I can go over top of that with a new color. Now, of course, we can always soak off her nails. I do not like the soak off process, just personal preference, and to be honest, my clients don't either. So this to us is just a lot easier, and I try to stay clear from a soak off specifically on her because she does have contact dermatitis, and I do not want any of that to get super dried out and it cause any type of discomfort for her. So we just stick to doing this process. Now that does mean that as I am filing off the product, sometimes I will leave color behind, and this video is a perfect example of how sometimes you can see a little bit of color. You can absolutely take it all the way off, but I prefer to just go ahead and leave it because I get concerned for the natural nail and I don't want to overfile. So I just end up leaving a very small thin layer wherever I think it's necessary. Again, just personal preference. So I'm starting off with my 5-in-1 bit from Kiara Sky. This is in medium grit. I have my Efile set to about 12,000 RPMs, and I'm pretty much just going over top of that acrylic and filing it all the way until I have a thin layer. And I try to move across the nail the entire time. You'll see me alternate from the top to the bottom, from the right to the left, from the left to the right, from the top corner to the bottom, corner, just moving around the whole time. Because if you are familiar with using an e-file, that could cause a heat spike if you are filing too much in one spot. So the key to avoiding a heat spike is lifting up your bit constantly. Every time I'm pretty much going back over the spot, I am lifting up my e-file and not staying in the same spot for too long. So I'm just gonna go ahead and continue to do that. Now at this point that the acrylic is nice and thin, you'll see me here just kind of flicking off that lifted area. You can do that very easily when the nail is super thin. So I'm just going in on that lifted portion and filing it. Again, I'm moving around the nail so that I do not create a heat spike. So you'll see me kind of work on that lifted area, move away from it, come back, and then continue to work on it. It's just kind of natural to me at this point. Next, I'm gonna be taking the small MANDREL bit from Kiara Sky. This has become a quick favorite for me, and I'm just gonna go ahead and buff off the shine from her natural nail, finish removing any lifted areas she might have, and then I'm gonna go back in and finish any other prepping portion that I might need. This speed that I have my e-file is at 4,000 RPMs. I always keep it at 4. I never go beyond that unless it's absolutely necessary for the cuticle area, but it's always 4,000 RPMs to buff off that shine nicely. Then I'm gonna be taking this diamond bit. It's just gonna kind of help remove that excess dead cuticle in that area and kind of just push back that cuticle as well. I don't really do cuticle work on her because again, she has contact dermatitis, and so I'm just kind of leaving that alone. Next, I'm taking a lint-free wipe, a little bit of Young Nail Swipe, dehydrating that nail and fully removing all the oils from her natural nail. And then we're going in with the XXX Bond from Not Polished. This is their primer, and I'm gonna be adding a thin coat of that. I think I do 2 coats at this point. And I'm just basically focusing on the areas that are exposed from her natural nail. Now quickly going into our acrylic application, I am using the Kiara Sky Monomer along with the acrylic brush from Not Polished in a size 12. And I'm gonna be using this really pretty pink, which I will leave linked down below. We're gonna be using that as our base. And again, do note that you'll be able to see a little bit of the yellow come through. But once I go in with the design, I am fully aware that it will cover it. So I'm not too concerned about the color showing through. It's gonna blend right in perfectly. Now, if I did have a concern or I just absolutely wanted to fully cover that color, I would go in with a more opaque acrylic, which for the record, I have been recommending these products all the time throughout my entire being on YouTube. The Glam and Glitz acrylics are extremely opaque. I know they are not a lot of people's favorites because they are so chalky, but when I tell y'all they're gonna cover any type of base, they're going to work. So if needed, I would absolutely go in with one of their acrylics, but Again, it's just gonna kind of blend, and at the end you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So disregard the fact that you can kind of see a little bit of that yellow coming through. So we're just going in with our basic acrylic application. I'm starting in the middle section of the nail since her nails are on the shorter side. And we're gonna be just blending that downwards, trying to get those sidewalls nice and tight. And then I'm squaring off that tip. Going in with a smaller bead, we're gonna go right above that to try to bring up that apex a little bit. Blending that out, and then we're gonna finish off with the third bead in the cuticle area. Now, if at any point I feel like I need to add a little bit more, then I would go ahead and do so. Sometimes on the sidewalls, you'll see little areas where they can use a little bit more acrylic, and I would just simply take a tiny bit and infill that area. I also wanted to quickly mention that specifically to this nail, I know that I still have to file the nail on the sides to get that perfect shape. So I'm not too concerned about that yellow peeping through that side on the left side, simply because I'm going to file it down a little bit more, and that's going to minimize the amount of yellow showing through, along with, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be able to cover it with my design over top. If you don't have the issues that I have with my client having contact dermatitis and not wanting to soak off nails, you can absolutely just soak them off. Or another option as well is to go in with a gel color instead. So I would pretty much cover this acrylic with gel color, and you'd be able to just conceal that color peeping through the bottom as well. But this client specifically has made it known that she absolutely loves acrylic and strictly acrylic, so the less gel that I use on her, the better. Now for our filing process, once everything is nice and dry, I'm taking my 5-in-1 bit. You can use the bit of your choice. Safety bit is always a better choice for the cuticle area. I'm gonna go in and seal it, just focusing on that acrylic being flush to her natural nail. And then I'm quickly going over top of the surface of the nail just to smooth everything out nice and evenly. I try to lay my acrylic super smooth, so this is a very minimal amount of filing that I need to do. I'm using very light pressure as well while I'm doing it. And again, moving across the entire nail the entire time. Next, I'm going in with a hand file, filing the sides, and then we're gonna be going in and flipping her hand around to look at the nails from her perspective and file the tip that way. That's just my preference. You could do it this way as well. I just feel like I'm able to kind of see if the nails are exactly straight the way that she would look at her nails as well. We're gonna be buffing the surface of the nail, making sure everything is nice and smooth. You can always skip this step as well and just go in, clean it, and add a top coat as your base for nail art. This is just pretty much what I'm comfortable with, and I've mentioned it before, the less product that I layer on there, the more comfortable I feel with them staying nice longer. It's just kind of what I've gotten used to, and I honestly don't mind buffing the nail, but again, preference. I'm going in and removing the dust with the lint-free wipe and a little bit of Young Nail Swipe. And I'm actually going to be taking a white gel polish, and we're going to be using this as our base for our design. If you did notice from the thumbnail, we're going to be using pink and orange pigments. I love using pigments. It is my absolutely favorite, and I know I put a lot of y'all on if you watched me in the very beginning. If you didn't, these pigments are bomb and I absolutely adore them. But I'm using the Veeda Bella short liner for this process, along with the white gel polish from Profiles Backstage. I just place a little bit of the gel polish on my Artista palette from Veeda Bella, and then I can easily access that gel polish color, do my little swirls, and these are all wet as of now. I'm pretty much doing all 5 fingers. Once I get done with that thumb, I go ahead and place her in the light and work on the other hand just to make things go a little bit faster. I fully cured that for 60 seconds, and then I'm instantly going in with my pigments. This has a tacky layer, so you need a gel that has a tacky layer. I'm going in with pink and orange. Yes, y'all, she actually chose the colors. If you've been following me for a while, you know pink and orange are my favorite color combo for the summer, but I did not choose it this time. She chose it, but it just made my heart that much happier. So I'm pretty much using a brush to apply this and blend them together in the middle. Now, in the next few minutes, you're gonna be able to notice that I ended up switching the process of application just because I felt like it wasn't giving what it needed to give as far as the coverage of the pigment. These brushes were not the move, but it was what I had. So I ended up figuring out that if I use my finger instead and dip it into the pigment, I can just rub it in, kind of like we do with chrome pigment. And it worked so good. So I'll show you guys a little bit of that on her other hand so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But as of right now, we're just going in with one side of the pigment being pink, and then in the center, I go ahead and kind of just diffuse that so that I can blend them together a lot easier. You can use whatever color combo of your choice. We just ended up going with these 2 colors. I did also want to mention that my girl brought her baby in with her to her appointment. So I was trying to be super fast, and the baby was just not in the mood for her mommy to get herself some me time, but it was completely fine. We ended up working with it, and I know she felt so bad that she was not being happy through her appointment. But here I am taking my finger, dipping it in the pigment, and I'm just kind of dabbing it on there, and then I blend it in the center, and it worked so good. So if you're having issues, definitely just use your finger when in doubt. And then we're gonna be going in with the white once again. I switched to my Veeda Bella white gel paint just because it's thicker. Same brush, the Veeda Bella short liner. And we're gonna be adding flowers to this set. It is still giving very much so summer vibes. We ended up just putting the flowers on one finger because I think the baby really wanted to go home. I added some top coat to that. I used Young Nail stain resistant top coat for her nails. She is a hairdresser, so we want to protect her design and her nails, and it works perfectly. Cured it in the light for 60 seconds always throughout the entire process. But that pretty much concludes today's video. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a ton, and I'll see you guys next time.